Welcome back to Talk Tensors, the show where we take cutting-edge research and try to break it down into bite-sized pieces, Today we're doing a deep dive into a paper that really caught my eye. Multimodal LLMs can reason about aesthetics in zero shot.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, this paper kind of asks a question that I think has always kind of fascinated me. Can artificial intelligence truly understand art and, judge it?
It's a question that's intrigued philosophers and art critics, well, for centuries, really. And now with all these advances in AI, we're starting to, maybe get some answers.
Yeah, exactly. So before we get into the details, let's set the stage a little bit. For years now, computer vision tools have struggled to evaluate art because it's so subjective, right? I mean, what moves one person might leave another completely cold. Traditional methods, focused on things like color palettes or composition, but a lot of times they missed a deeper meaning.
Precisely. Those methods really lacked the ability to understand the context, the history, the artistic intent behind a piece. They couldn't, grasp the why behind aesthetic preferences.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where this paper makes, I think, a really significant leap. The researchers explore the potential of these things called multimodal large language models, or MLLMs.
MLLMs.
These models are really cool because they combine text and image processing. So they can kind of understand both the visual elements of art and the language we use to talk about it, which is really interesting.
What's exciting is they built this massive data set to actually test this out. It's called Style Bench.
Okay.
It's a collection of 1,000 images and then 1,000 style prompts, like Van Gogh, Japanese woodblock, that kind of thing. And then get this, they got people to rank them based on their preferences, like which one's better.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of work.
Oh, it was. Every image, they carefully labeled it with attributes related to the content, like composition, use of color and style, the artist, movement, all that. And then on top of that, they added the human preferences. So this data set is like a gold mine for researchers trying to understand, can AI align with human taste?
Yeah. So they've got their MLLMs and this incredible data set. What did they find? Can AI actually judge art?
Well, the results are promising, but not without some challenges. The MLLMs, they ran into a problem that actually pops up a lot in AI research. Hallucinations.
Hallucinations, like they were seeing things that weren't actually in the artwork.
Not literally seeing, but their interpretations were, let's just say, imaginative. They might say an image feels jarring, but not explain why. Or they'd make up details that just weren't there.
So like that friend who sees hidden symbolism in every brushstroke, even when there is none.
Exactly. So how did the researchers deal with this hallucination problem?
Well, they got inspiration from art criticism itself.
Oh, okay.
They use this thing called formal analysis. It's a technique art critics use where they break down these visual elements, they connect them to historical context, and then they build an argument for a piece's aesthetic quality.
So instead of just saying, I like this, the AI actually has to have a reason, like a real art critic would. Exactly. And that's where their new method comes in. It's called Cootie. And it's kind of like a 3-step process, like a workflow for this AI art critic.
All right. I'm listening. Lay it on me.
Okay. So first, there's the content style analyzer.
Okay.
This step, it just focuses on describing the objective features of the image. Colors, shapes, brush strokes, all the building blocks.
Makes sense.
Then we go to the art critic phase. Here, the MLLM, it connects those features to artistic principles and the broader context, do these brushstrokes fit with impressionism, that kind of thing.
I got it.
And finally, we have the summarizer. It makes a judgment call, but it's based on the analysis from those previous steps.
So it's not just whether the AI likes the piece, it's about backing up that judgment with a real argument.
Yeah, exactly.
Based on, like you said, features, context, all that. I can already see how this could really change things in AI and art. But did this ArtCot method, did it actually work?
The results were actually pretty impressive. ArtCot really helped the MLLMs get a lot closer to human preferences, compared to just doing it the basic way, sometimes by a pretty big margin.
Wow, that's pretty remarkable. It seems like giving the AI this structure, thinking like an art critic, really made a difference. But does this mean AI could actually replace human art critics, do you think?
Well, that's definitely a question that'll, spark some debate, I think. ArtCot, it shows promise, but human taste, it's complex. It changes all the time. And AI, at least right now, it's still learning from us, from the data we feed it, which has, our own biases and preferences and all that. But
yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
It makes me think about the potential for bias in this system.
Yeah.
If the AI is trained on data that reflects just one group of people, their preferences. Could it make things even more unequal in the art world?
It's definitely a valid concern, yeah. And an area where more research is needed, for sure. As we develop these systems, it's really important to make sure that the data is diverse, represents a lot of different styles, perspectives, all that.
For sure. We don't want some AI art critic that only likes Renaissance paintings or favors one style over others. But let's shift gears a bit. I'm curious, what do you think this research means for art itself? The future of art. Like,
Yeah.
could it change how we create it, how we experience it, even how much we value it?
Oh, I definitely think it could change all those things. Imagine like artists using AI as a tool, to explore creative possibilities. They could play around with different compositions, colors, brushstrokes, all that. And the AI could give them feedback, like how might people react to this?
Oh, that's cool. Like an AI assistant or like a superpowered art mentor.
Yeah, exactly. It could even lead to whole new forms of art, like imagine collaborations, artists working with AI. The AI generates some crazy ideas or visuals, and the artist takes those and, makes something new.
This is totally taking me back to our novel Notion segment. It would be so cool to see this art cod thing applied to more than just like, does a piece match a style? What if you could train an AI to judge art on way more criteria?
Oh, that's a great idea. You could potentially train it to not just look at like the aesthetics, but also technical skill, historical significance, even the emotional impact.
So instead of just like or dislike, you get like this score, this multifaceted score, like an art credit score almost.
Ah, I like that. We could even picture a future where AI helps with art curation. Museums, galleries, they could use it to choose pieces based on certain criteria or to appeal to different audiences.
Or maybe AI could even help us find like hidden gems,
Hmm.
art that human critics missed, but the AI sees something special, based on its like bigger understanding of art.
I love that idea. Imagine an AI that like champions underappreciated artists or finds lost masterpieces and brings them back to the world. That would really shake things up.
This is getting exciting. But before we get too carried away with all the futuristic stuff, let's go back to that bias thing you mentioned earlier. Do you worry that these AI art critics could just make existing biases worse instead of, challenging them?
That's the big question, yeah. It really depends on the data, like we said. If the data already favors certain art movements or artists from, say, certain backgrounds, well, the AI will probably just keep those biases going in its judgments.
So it's super important to be careful about the data and to make sure it represents a lot of different things.
Absolutely. And on top of that, we have to think about algorithmic bias.
Yeah.
Even with good data, the algorithms themselves can be biased because of how they're designed, how they're trained.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. How do you even guard against that? Seems like it could be hard to spot and even harder to fix.
You're right, it is a challenge. But researchers, they're working on ways to, find and reduce this bias, like carefully looking at the algorithms, testing them on lots of different data sets, getting experts from different fields involved to make sure things are fair.
Sounds like it takes a lot of people working together to use these powerful AI tools the right way. Ethically, I mean.
Exactly. It's not just about the tech, it's about how we use it. We got to keep having these conversations about the good and the bad that could come from it and work together to figure out like some guidelines, some best practices for AI in the art world.
Yeah, all really important things to consider. But for now, let's maybe step back from like the ethics stuff and dig into some of the specific findings of this paper. The one thing that caught my eye was they found that longer, more detailed style prompts actually made the AI better. What do you make of that?
It shows how important context is. The more the AI knows about the style it's supposed to judge, the better it can like get the nuances and make a good call. It's not just about seeing things, it's about understanding the language around that style, the history, all the rules of that kind of art.
So it's like you're teaching the AI to appreciate the whole story of the artwork, not just looking at it on the surface.
Exactly. Like it's one thing to just look at a painting, but it's another to really get it, what it means, what it's about.
Right, right. It reminds me that even in art, context is everything. And speaking of context, another cool thing they found was that the AI did best when it had both the image and text information. Like just seeing the artwork wasn't enough. It needed that extra layer of like words and language to really get it.
Yeah, that's a key takeaway. It shows that aesthetics, it's not just one thing, it's multimodal. It's
Yeah.
not just about what you see, it's about how you understand it, how you connect it to like bigger art ideas, how you talk about it.
Yeah, like it's different to just see a beautiful sunset versus being able to actually explain why it's so amazing. the language we use, it actually makes our appreciation deeper.
For sure. And AI seems to be like starting to understand that link between what we see and what we say, which is a huge step forward for it being able to actually engage with art.
This has been so interesting. We've covered so much from like how art code actually works to like the bigger future of art and all the ethical stuff we got to think about. But there's one last thing for the paper I want to explore a bit more.
Oh, okay. I'm all ears. What is it?
Well, the researchers kind of touch on this really mind-blowing question. They're like, if we can teach AI to understand and judge art, what does that even say about art itself? Is beauty really subjective, or are there like actual rules, principles that a machine can learn and even copy? It makes you wonder, like, is there this like universal language of beauty that goes beyond culture, individual taste, all that?
It's a question that's like always been there. Is beauty really just in the eye of the beholder? Or are there like real underlying principles, things a machine could learn?
Right. I mean, part of what makes art so cool is that it's subjective, right? Like how it speaks to you, what it makes you feel, the memories it brings up. If an AI can do that too, does it kind of cheapen the human experience of art?
I don't think so. I think it might even make it better, Like if we can understand the how of it all, like how our brains actually respond to beauty, that could give us even more appreciation for what artists do.
It's like, knowing the science behind a sunset doesn't make it any less beautiful. You might actually appreciate it even more once you understand it, right?
Exactly. And think about it. What if artists and AI could like work together, push the boundaries of creativity, come up with things we never could have on our own?
That's pretty mind-blowing, honestly. And instead of being scared that AI will like take over art, we could see it as like a partner, someone to create with.
Yeah, I think the future of art is going to be this like blend of human and machine creativity. Who knows, maybe someday an AI will create something that's as good as any human artist.
Whoa, now that would be something. It would really make you question, like, what even is art and who or what can make it?
Definitely challenges our ideas about it and brings up all these questions about like creativity, consciousness, what art really means, all of that.
It feels like we're just at the beginning of all this, AI and art. This research just opens up so many paths, and I'm really excited to see where things go.
Me too. It's moving so fast. I bet we'll see even more amazing discoveries in the next few years.
Well, that's about it for our deep dive into AI art critics. We covered a lot, from how art cut works to like the really big questions about the future of art. But we want to hear from you now.
Yeah, definitely. Head over to our website, our socials, and tell us what you think. What are your novel notions about all this? Anything that like sparked your imagination?
And as always, thanks for listening to Talk Tensors. Until next time, keep thinking, keep creating, and we'll catch you on the next episode.